I'm trying to have a call with a client. He's explaining all these things to me, and Luke's like, "Do you want some gloves?" No, I'm like, trying to talk to somebody.
I've been out on the phone outside and I know how cold your hands get. So I was being a kind brother and was like, "Do you want some gloves, mate?" Another nice thing that I did for Marcus over the last 2 weeks that have been thrown back straight in my face. Welcome to the Audience Marketing Show. As always, I've got my brother Reese and I've got my younger brother Marcus with us. You guys want to do your standard yo?
Yo.
Yo.
This is actually the final episode of season 1. And we've said from the start that we wanted to kind of do an Ask Me Anything type episode to finish off on. So we're back. This is the first time we've been back in the Bison Room studios since recording the first set of episodes. So we're all stoked. Marcus is fresh back from his honeymoon. He's looking, he's glowing.
Very tanned.
Thank you very much. I worked really hard at it.
Did you have a nice wedding, Marcus?
Yeah, it's beautiful. Best day of my life.
Good.
It rained. We went to Spain to get married and it rained, but it was good luck, as everyone kept telling me.
That isn't the same when it rains in Spain on the plane. Is that same? That is
No,
the
but I
same.
love that we've started this episode with you making up another saying.
That
That doesn't
is the
exist.
same. But no, we're super excited. Obviously, I've got a couple of things that have come through on the socials, but we will get to that. But I guess the first bit first is really a recap on kind of the first season. It's the first one we've ever done. We said we wanted to test a podcast. From my perspective, we've loved doing it. I think the feedback's been wicked. But quick fire question: favourite episode so far? Reece?
Yeah, so for me it was Perks and Perils of Personalisation. Easy for me to say. No, but that for me was the best one. A close second would have been Say No to Junk Mail, but Perks and Perils of Personalisation for me was my favourite. I think reason being is just I believe in it so much. I think marketing as a whole, like personalisation marketing is the future, and the more personalised you get, the more targeted you get, the more like personal you get. And I think for brands that are doing it correctly and the best are the ones that are winning.
Yeah, no, I think that's 100%. I think I enjoyed that one, not only because it was quite comical and difficult to say, but I think it's just really apt, isn't it, for kind of where the industry's at right now.
Yeah, definitely. And I think probably the reason Say No to Junk Mail was second for me is the same reason. Like when you get personalised, you do start to eradicate junk. So for me, I think they're both two important parts of marketing that I think are evolving.
I think that just started so many conversations around the junk, didn't it? Like moving people away from just talking about junk, like print, like junk mail is a traditional sort of use of the term. Like it got people, I think the discussions we had with especially clients around actually, yeah, they've not seen digital as a form of junk marketing.
People don't. People still just... People we're chatting to, Luke, about the podcast now, and people are thinking, we never really thought about digital as junk because it's not physical. They haven't got to do something physical with it and delete it or chuck it in the trash. So, yeah, I think it's definitely made a lot of people think about it.
Marcus, favourite episode?
I enjoyed them all, Luke, to be honest with you. My favourite one was winning customers in a hyper-competitive world. I think... I just thought it was a very cool conversation the whole way through. I thought the episode flowed quite nicely, and I think it went on a journey, and I think we went on a journey with it. I think like we came to the realization at the end that actually it's not about winning customers, it's about kind of creating loyalty, and that's, if you focus on that, that's how you find customers. So yeah, I just liked it. I thought it was quite cool that we kind of figured it out ourselves as we went and sort of changed the topic, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I think 100%, and I think that's probably kind of the whole podcast. If people have asked us, obviously we've asked for a lot of feedback on the content we've been talking about and the style and so forth, because we want to learn when we want to do the future ones. But I think the journey we've been on has been exactly that, isn't it? We kind of knew we had a plan, but it's been a learning for us going through how we do podcasts, the styles, how we work together. So I guess for people that are listening and maybe considering doing podcasts, I think I guess you can't really overthink it too much, right? We've done it, we've learnt loads, and like you said, Marcus, we've been on a bit of a journey.
Yeah, it's been an emotional one. We learnt pretty quick, don't do it straight after lunch. That is not our most creative hour, is it?
Or without food.
Or without food. Just before lunch, just after lunch is a no-go.
Because we had one, didn't we? And I think even Chris and Julian, like, they could just tell that we were like, the energy was low, and then they come out and it was like, what's wrong? And it was like, haven't eaten all day. And that was like a pre-lunch one, wasn't it? And that was bad. But no, loads of learnings. And I think we've super enjoyed it. But for me, I guess, my favourite podcast, and it's kind of it's well timed. We're recording this episode on Cyber Monday, and we had the episode around customers for life, not just for Black Friday. It's a coincidence we're doing this today, but that was always my favourite episode when we were doing the plan for this season, is because I think we do live in a world, and it's not just for Black Friday. We use that as a term because it's really well known, part of the kind of the marketing and business plan and calendar. But for me, I think there is too much focus on just getting loads of new customers, get loads and loads of new customers, and we would have all seen it, and we discussed it in the episode, that so many times you buy something for the first time and then you're never re-engaged from that brand again. And I just think the huge missed opportunity of trying to grow loyalty and the life cycle marketing we spoke about is huge. So yeah, we're on Cyber Monday today. I'm sure all of us have bought something. I think we all have. We've bought something this weekend, so we're probably excited to see. Obviously, we're excited to receive the products, mostly Christmas presents, but we're excited to see what marketing we get going forward to either support our case for treating people as customers for life, or in some cases, prove that there is that missed opportunity. So yeah, so three of our kind of favourite episodes, really. Marcus, you spoke about sort of the plans we have and how we've learned from this kind of series. We want to do season 2. I think we haven't done an official vote before, but say aye if you're up for it.
Aye. For me, I'm 100% stoked for the next lot of series, but I think for us, we want to bring more people into it, and I think a lot of people have reached out to us, haven't they? Like friends and colleagues and people that just want to be involved. And I think that's what's exciting for me, is bringing more people in and just opening up the discussion.
No, 100%. Like, the list is growing, and I think that's excellent. I mean, it's good that there's the positive sort of feedback on the show, but we want outside opinion. Like,
Massively.
We can sit here and talk about our experiences, but we all learn so much from the clients we work on. We learn from them, they learn from us, we learn from colleagues, we learn from other people in the industry. So there's going to be a real mix. I think some of the names we've got that people have said, look, we want to come on and give our opinion. There's a real nice mix of kind of big kind of B2B traditional businesses to sort of small startup, fast-growing retailers. Some tech companies want to be involved. So I guess watch your space. We want to start recording it early 2020. But yeah, it's super exciting, and I think you're right, Reece. The key ingredient is going to be more input, right?
Yeah, and if you do want to get involved, hit us up.
Do just give us a shout. But yeah, on to the kind of the key bits, the questions that I guess we were asked, and it's a really interesting one. Some of them were quite similar, so we've ended up kind of merging the two together, and we've actually had a few that came through, ended up sort of just being a bit quick fire. They were really straight to the point conversations. So one of the first ones, which I think is only one person around the table that should and can answer this one, it's from at Jack Kinder. And Marcus, I'm going to read it out word for word. Will PPC be totally automated in the end?
Well, short answer is no. I don't think it will be. I think PPC is becoming more and more automated, as everybody knows. However, it's not getting less time consuming. Like, there was all these talks, or there was all these points over the past year or two. It's like, are we going to be put out of a job by all this automation? And essentially what's happening is all these automation things are still coming. There's a lot of things that we can automate now. There's bidding strategies, smart bidding, rules that you can set up, all of these things that you can do. It's still very time consuming. So like, that trend has not happened at all. Like, there's still very much a lot that we can do. Lots more is becoming more automated. So we're spending less time deciding bids, for example, but we're spending more time focusing on the audiences that we're targeting and on the ads that we're putting out there. So everything's just being displaced. The time will continue to fill itself. Like, we're not spending time on some tasks, but that's allowing us to do other things. And actually, it's getting even more complicated. Like, automation was kind of positioned that it's going to make things easier, and it almost hasn't. It's kind of made it more complicated because you got to understand how the automation works. So yeah, thanks for the question, Jack Kinder. But my answer is no, it's not.
No, it's an exciting one, and we've done videos in the past on LinkedIn, haven't we, in terms of like humans versus robots, and it will always be topical because everything is developing so quickly. But you're right, as much as things do progress, we're not in a position yet where we're replacing the human mind.
No, I mean, yeah, we could probably do a whole episode about this, to be honest. Like,
Maybe
people talk about AI a lot, and AI is very much used when it is not appropriate. Like, there's a lot of machine learning in PPC now. There's no AI in it. Things are automated, that's true, but then it cannot ever be completely automated, because you're always going to need a human there putting an input in to think about all the things that we're talking about now. Like, we can't automate that.
And that's the thing. There's things around a marketing plan, like robots aren't necessarily going to be able to interpret a marketing plan. Like, they can interpret numbers, but when someone decides they want to quickly do a drop, or they want to bring out a new clothing line or a new product range, like, there's always going to be that human element. But to your point there, Marcus, maybe we'll do a bit of a shout out to the big tech giants for season 2. Maybe someone like Google, maybe someone like Bing could come on and let us know their thoughts.
Okay, so another question we've had is from Annabelle, and it's, has SMS marketing got a future? So I'm probably best to answer this one, and I think it has got a massive future. SMS, I think brands that aren't testing it or using it should start to. I think especially in the retail space, where there's a lot of trends at the moment with fast drops, fast flash sales. It's definitely a place what is cutting through the noise. We're working with brands at the moment, and we're seeing a lot of great results from it. It's quite cheap as well. It's quite reasonable to do. And for me, like, if it's all about the timing. So I don't know about you two, and I'll throw the question back. Like, what do you do when you wake up? Like, the first thing I look for is the time.
Yeah.
Maybe kiss my wife, and then I draw for my phone, right? And the first thing I see is the text messages. Like, WhatsApp notifications come up with like multiple, and then it's your text messages. So I think brands that are in that space, and it's the first thing people can see in the morning, like 50% flash sale, or have you seen the new latest drop of this range of shoes, I think works great.
Can be really powerful. I think the important thing about marketing is being agile, isn't it? And I think, like, as much as we love email as a channel, and like you can see it is often like a very, very powerful part of the mix.
Yep.
There's a lot of email at the moment, so it's a little bit saturated as a channel, especially as a weekend we've just had, like Black Friday to Cyber Monday. Not many people use SMS over the weekend.
No. So I received three SMS Black Friday deals, and
was two of them for my clients.
2 of them for our clients. And the other one was bulkpowders.com.
I got 2. I got bulk powders and a classic Domino's one on Friday night.
How many email Black Friday? How many Black Friday emails did you get?
I dread to think. Loads. I've
over 100, I reckon.
Easily, and I think that's a massive point. You go where, and we talked about a lot of this in the series, and it's very similar in terms of the kind of when we spoke about direct mail and how that's great at kind of cutting through the noise. SMS, and I'd sort of throw WhatsApp into that bucket as well, is huge because it does cut through the noise. Like
Massively.
I said, if you take, for argument's sake, you've received 500-600 emails from brands over the Black Friday weekend,
Yep.
and you're saying you've received 3 SMS text messages. For you particularly, and I know because we see a lot of each other, we're brothers, we spend a lot of time together, WhatsApp is your main SMS communication, right?
Yep.
So actually you're talking that they're actually texting you through sort of like iMessage and things.
Yep.
So that's an even more uncrowded area of your phone.
So WhatsApp from this month can't do WhatsApp broadcasting, so that's finishing.
That was because we'll subscribe to the Social Chain WhatsApp group, don't we?
Yes, really good.
It's been awesome. It's been a great use of that kind of tech. I know you guys are kind of slightly more fans of it than I am myself, but I think for we've discussed it before, but I think for me it's because our attention is everywhere. I just really struggle to have another stream of like conversations coming in WhatsApp. But yeah, Reese, we saw that news today, didn't we? That unfortunately they're going to have to shut that channel down.
Yeah, but then that just leads to iMessage or Android message. Like for me, it's where you can hit your client like there, like and it can be personalised. So some of the brands we're working with at the moment, we're doing it. We're personalising it from the brand owner or the main person there. And I think you can do it exactly like you would with email. You can segment it from like previous purchases, so you can talk to someone. You know exactly what they've purchased previously, and you can send them stuff they may like.
A little secondary question from producer Chris here. So you guys saying then that with the fact that everyone's using WhatsApp so regularly, that SMS is actually like a bit of an abandoned channel, and I guess also a little bit less obtrusive, is it, than being in people's WhatsApp?
No, it's a good. That's a great question, Chris. So WhatsApp. So there's a thing on WhatsApp called WhatsApp Broadcast, and that's instead of having a group message where you can see everyone in it, the person that owns the WhatsApp group can just send out a broadcast to everyone in there. So you could have like hundreds of thousands of people in there, Chris, and that at the moment is stopping. So for me now, that shifts over to what's next, and you can obviously use Facebook Messenger, which arguably isn't the best. And for me, the best place to get to your customer, if it's not through email or social advertising, would be SMS texting.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think it is. We've spoken a lot about. We've probably spoken a lot. Two things a lot in the whole series, haven't we? Is kind of audiences and making sure we know who they are and target them in the right way, and then choosing a channel where you're really going to cut through. It's not a channel for absolutely every instance.
No.
But you're 100% right, Chris. To answer your question, I think there's a massive opportunities. Loads of people are using SMS. So you're getting less of the red dots. You're getting less of like old school text messages coming through to your phones. When they do come through and you're like, oh, I've got a red dot on my little green Messenger app if you're on iPhone, like it does grab your attention, and it's not an inbox that gets full really quickly. Like I've had messages at the top of my iMessage inbox that have been there for weeks, whereas WhatsApp, we all know, they disappear within like half an hour sometimes. They could all just be pushed down.
It shouldn't be just used like willy-nilly. It should just be like the way we're using it currently is for like special announcements. So you don't want it to look spam. You're not sending something out every day. But for us, throughout Black Friday, we was using it with email. So email was our first port of call. We were sending out every day. There was a new deal for this certain client. We were sending out emails, and for the special deal, we sent to explain it properly. We only sent over the whole week of Black 5 Day, we sent out 3 SMSs, and we sent out an email every day.
And to go back to the point around junk, that wasn't to the entire database, was it?
No, we segmented it. So like one day we sent just to the women who there was a new women's drop, and there was sales in that, and then we sent it to their top customers, and then one message we sent to the full CRM database that had phone numbers.
And that's the thing, like, as with all the channels we spoke about throughout the series, is marketers, we can't be biased towards a channel.
No.
Certain audiences will resonate more with certain channels, certain times. I think 100% Reece, channels working together, SMS, email, or email direct mail, or SMS and then a PPC ad or a social ad, like it all working hand in hand. Like hopefully people have got that trend throughout this series that we're about integration. Like that's where you get the magic.
It's like, not one or the other.
100%. And when people say, oh no, don't use that channel because it doesn't work, like you've got to test them. And this is the exciting thing. We're testing SMS. Like if we had a reround 6 months, 12 months, and someone said, oh, we're going to test text message marketing, people would have thought we were mad. And then that's the same as direct mail. Like these channels, these sort of hyper targeted channels are making a comeback because of how targeted they can be. So no, I think that's a wicked question around the future of text messages. I think, yeah, just watch the space, because I think it is just going to be more and more popular. I guess the downside is that, like everything, if it gets too popular, then it can end up being like very similar channels where they become overcrowded. So I guess the exciting bit there is then what next? Like where's the next? I know Reece is talking, and I'm going to eat my words here, but it was a Gary Vee statement. I think we spoke about probably a year ago around like undervalued attention and where the best places are, and I think that's such a great point, because right now SMS, direct mail, like the doormat versus someone's text message inbox is quite light. Compare that to the inbox, compare that to people's Facebook, Instagram feeds where they're heavy, like there's so much going on. Where would you rather kind of spend your time, really, in time and money?
It's just test it. That's all we can say, isn't it? Test it and just see what happens.
100%. Quick fire question that came through. We're not allowed to be biased in this, but our favourite marketing channels. Marcus?
Completely unbiased. Nothing to do with the fact that my wife works there, but Microsoft Ads. It's the underdog search platform, which we always like to fight for the underdog. We probably see ourselves as a bit of an underdog in this big industry that we're part of. But yeah, small percentage of the market, but it's very much ignored by a lot of people. You can get lots of good results from it if you give it that bit of attention it needs. They test lots of cool things that you don't really get on Google. A lot of the times they do just copy Google as well, but no, it's cool. Bing ads, it's still there as my favourite.
Nice. I think for me, and this is not a biased one, but for me, direct mail is super exciting for having sort of pretty much worked my whole career in the digital space. And never really been able to be involved in kind of activity and campaigns that have direct mail as a presence. Having sort of like Dad and Reese bring that knowledge in and actually executing some amazing campaigns this year. It's so exciting. I just think what you can do with it, and I just think people, even when the people are doing it, I think they're just scratching the surface. Like they're still sticking to just quite standard stuff. But for me, it's super exciting because so much of our world is digital. What you can do with a physical product is really, really exciting for me. So that, especially going into kind of 2020, like I just said kind of earlier around channels changing when they get really, really kind of popular. But right now, that's a super exciting channel for me.
Have to agree, Luke. But yeah, for me, being totally unbiased, it would have to be bus advertising, like full bus wraps. We don't do it. I don't know much about it, but me as a customer, for pure brand awareness, I love it. I think like when I see one, I saw an American Express one drive past Hackney Road, and it looked wicked. And I think just pure brand awareness, for me, it's just, yes, it's sick.
The best one I saw down there on Hackney Road as well was I knew the brand, but I never knew that I knew it. It was Banana Company. Yeah. The whole bus was yellow with like the little blue logos stuck all over it. And they literally just sell bananas. Like you'll just see them in a supermarket as a bunch, but like, don't know why they need to build brand awareness, but it was just fucking really cool, I thought. But I completely agree. The reason buses are so powerful, and I always think back to the last ad I've seen, you think of a bus or any other sort of out of home, I do personally, and I think on Instagram, Facebook, as much as I love those channels, you don't remember the ads that you see. You're just scrolling and scrolling. They don't cut through some of the ads. Like, so every now and then you see an ad and it'll cut through. It'll make you stop your thumb. But no, bus stops out of home. Like I think they do really make an impact.
But do you think? And this links to a cool question we actually had from Julian in the Bison Rooms. But do you think? I have my opinion on this. But do you think the reason for you guys bus advertising stands out and is so memorable because, general rule of thumb, people spend a lot more time designing and the kind of the creative assets of buses. They're generally a lot more creative than like a Facebook ad. Like, do you think that is why you do prefer them and you do remember them, because they're generally more creative?
They're different as well. You're not in London when you're used to seeing bright red buses. You see a bright yellow one with a banana on it. It makes you stop.
No, it's a good
the banana bus.
I will never forget the day I saw the banana bus.
Or the bright green American Express. Like it's like a mint green, and I don't know if you've like seen American Express, but it's got like it's a weird texture to it, and the bus just looked wicked. So to your point, Luke, maybe it is because the time's been taken in the creative, and a lot of junk ads on social are just junk, and they're not thought about. They're not planned, and they're just whacked up.
So that's the thing. If you saw, sorry, Marcus, if you saw a load of buses going past that they all looked pretty much the same. All of the ads were the same sort of colours. Like, would you? I don't think you would remember them.
Well, that's the thing though, because a bus wrap has been designed for that bus, because it can only be designed for a bus, whereas I'll get a Facebook ad to use and it's the same image that's being used for the product page and for the homepage and for like a magazine ad or for a print ad, and it's just repurposed. We can also make that fit Facebook specs. It's not designed for Facebook, or it's not designed for Instagram. It's just generic, right? So I think, to your point, Luke, that's why buses probably are memorable, because they're designed for that bus.
Yeah, so
and
they're different. Like an Instagram ad that's just the same as everything else in your marketing is. It's not going to cut through.
It's not a thumb stopper.
No. And that's to your point, Reece. That was a key. That was Julian's question, and he sat through hours and hours, and us talking and rambling on about marketing. And his question to us in passing in Containerville was what probably we didn't cover in enough detail. And again, it's an episode in itself. What is thumb stopping content? And I guess that's exactly what you guys are just saying. Like bus ads, they're designed for buses. They're designed to stand out amongst like crazy busy streets of whatever city you're in. So Reece, what's your opinion on thumb stopping content?
Well, it's dependent on what channel it's on. But if we take Instagram, which is probably the forefront at the moment, for me, we're seeing the best performing ads, the ones that look organic. So they look like they should be appearing in your feed. It looks like it's a friend posting it, like using the same font you can with Instagram stories. So for me, like the fun stoppers we're seeing, especially in the retail space, is ones that look like an organic post from a friend.
Yeah, no, 100%. And to Marcus's point, I think there needs to be more effort in creating these ads specific for the platform.
Yeah.
Like, and we have conversations with people a lot of the time, and it's let's just repurpose the content and let's just change the shapes that fits on Instagram, so that fits on LinkedIn, so that fits on Facebook, and so forth. We're doing a project at the moment where we've been part of that creative process since day one, and it's been excellent because we have been doing that. We've been creating specific videos and assets for LinkedIn that we know will be right for that LinkedIn audience versus Instagram, which we know we're going to be using as more of a remarketing type channel. We know we can create the assets in that sort of way. So that for us is kind of what thumb stopping content is, and it goes back to the point around SMS or direct mail, or how do you give yourself the best chance of grabbing attention? Yes, time, place, platform, all of those matter, but if your ad just looks like every other ad on said platforms, then you're kind of just making things difficult for yourself. So, Julian, that was a wicked question, and as always, I think there's probably another episode on. Maybe we could partner with someone. We'll get the guys actually we're working with at the moment on the creative, get their opinion on.
Yeah, that would be cool.
From sort of like the creative development side, like where do they think should be at? Because our world's fascinating to them and their world's fascinating to us, and it's a huge gap that it's more bridged than I think it used to be, but there's still a long way to go, and we know that we're making a real beeline to take our business in a direction of where we're working a lot more because in the creative arts, if you call it that, than probably what businesses like ourselves do historically. So that's kind of really exciting. I'm going to put you on the spot here, Marcus, because this is a bit of a ridiculous question. Actually, I told Mum what we were doing this afternoon. And she's literally just
yes, Mum, I've stopped drinking.
She's literally just WhatsApped me, and I think she's probably misunderstood the purpose of the episode and probably our audience. But she's asked, "Can we clarify what we do, what we do for a job?" So she has listened to our episodes.
I'd say my main responsibility is stopping you two arguing.
It's been great to have you back.
But no, we've explained, and that's a serious thing. Like, we've explained to Mum what we do a lot. I think we might need to just do a podcast just for Mum so she can listen to it. She's driving to work. We'll do a little audio book for her.
Maybe we should get her on.
That, you know what? That would be an amazing guest. How funny would that?
That'd be sick. That'd be wicked.
I think we're gonna do it. Put that in the calendar. We're gonna get Carla Knight
and Dad.
And in the same room together. How hilarious would that be? Both of them.
Dad explaining what PPC is to Mum.
No, let's definitely get that in. Right, done. That's in the diary.
It's good though, because Mum might ask some questions that, like, for example, a CEO who doesn't know much about marketing might ask, do you know, or like whoever job role who may not understand about that part of the business that they're employing us to do. Like, so Mum might ask some questions that. I think that's such a good point, because for us, because we're in it, we see things differently, and it's obviously a good thing. But sometimes we don't see it as a consumer. Like, when I explain to my friends what we do, they're like, the easiest way to explain online advertising is, do you see the sponsored ad? And they're like, I've never seen that before. And I'm like, what? So you just think that just appears in your feed? So to that point, I think that would be great to get Mum on, because it would be, no offense, dummy's guide to it, and she could come up with some cool ideas. Yeah, let's do it.
And at the same time, she can teach us about nursing, so it'll be like a spin-off and a spin-off spin-off podcast.
She's wicked at it.
So another question, and I think this was a conversation or a topic that we spoke about. I'm sure we crossed it on pretty much every episode we did, but it was the conversation around prospecting and remarketing. How do people get the balance? If people have minimal budget, where do they focus their time? So we had a couple of people that did very similar questions, but Jack and James Croxall, appreciate the questions. So it's a tough one where to start, but I guess if we take a little bit out of each of the questions, and I guess the first one is, where would you prioritise? So if you had kind of minimal budget, where would you prioritize between acquiring new customers versus looking after and getting the most out of existing customers?
Yeah, it's a really good question, because obviously when we were talking about it, we were obviously talking about, oh, it's amazing if you can do all of this stuff. And I guess in hindsight, it's true that that's not everybody's reality. As we know well, you don't always have like lots of budget, so people's realities are different. So it is a really good question. I think it depends on where you are as a business, how your brand awareness is. Like, for example, if you're a new business, then obviously focusing on remarketing is not going to do anything. So focus a lot on prospecting, getting new people to your website, and then perhaps putting an emphasis on collecting data through like a PDF download, or just sign up to our newsletter type thing. And then you can use email as remarketing or direct mail, and then you don't have to put any more budget into Facebook remarketing, for example, is one way to do it. But then equally, if you're getting loads of organic traffic to your website, maybe you don't need to invest in any paid media prospecting, because you can just focus on doing dynamic product ads on Facebook, or just display remarketing. So I think it very much depends on what your current business situation is.
No, 100%. I couldn't agree more. I think it's a lot of it, from my opinion, is you're right. If you're in a situation where you don't have enough customers in your business to be able to turn them into, or like to upsell them to increase their lifetime value, if you don't have that customer base, obviously the large amount of your work needs to be on prospecting and acquiring new people. One of the things we see probably too often is new businesses that are looking to acquire new customers or get more leads into the pipeline, into their businesses, do so without having the foundations in place for sort of like even the most basic kind of life cycle marketing. So someone buys something, are you collecting the right data? Do you have real simple email automation to thank them for their purchase and let them know when deliveries are coming? Or if they're doing a download, is there an immediate follow-up? And then is there your CRM system, and we talk about tech in one of our episodes, does your CRM system have the automation in place to follow up that person 3 months after? Like, these are the most basic things that don't require media spend. And the chances are your business will have a CRM software or an email automation tool to be able to do that. And we probably fall into the trap of always, when people talk about remarketing, they assume, it's remarketing through advertising, whereas actually there's so much remarketing you can do in inverted commas in kind of the organic space. So I think if you're a brand that needs to balance, if you're in the case where you need to acquire new customers, definitely put more budget into that, but make sure you've got the foundations for kind of the life cycle stuff there, because then you're always building up a database that's ready. And then when you get to the point where you have some additional budget and you want to go, right, I'm going to take all these lapsed customers and I'm going to go and try and resell to them because I haven't purchased in 6 months, you're not kicking yourself because you haven't set things up in the right way. But as Marcus said, if in an ideal world, you can get that balance right because they feed each other. You do more prospecting, you get more customers to buy, that feeds your remarketing and your life cycle activity. Yeah, so it's a tough one. It's an interesting balance to kind of address, really. I guess one of the other parts that came out of that question was around, is there sort of seasonality? Are there times of the year to be able to do certain ones? And I guess
that's funny. I didn't know that was a question, but that was one of the points I was going to make, is because, like, depending on what your product is, like Black Friday, for example, personally, I engage with brands I already have with in the past. So I'm going back and seeing what deals they've got for things that I have considered in the past. So those brands, for example, should invest a lot more in remarketing over Black Friday. Whereas if your business is kind of maybe new to market, or you've just got a very good offer that you think is going to be desirable for a lot of people, then maybe you can focus on prospecting at that stage. But do you know what I mean? Like a sale period, for example, might be more desirable for someone who knows your brand already, in which case you focus on remarketing.
Yeah, that's such a massive point. Like me and Reese did a video on the recent KSI Logan Paul fight, and I think just that example is really, really on point, because in a video, me and Reese are talking about how they've ultimately done a big prospecting activity. They've put on a fight, the first sort of and the biggest YouTube fight. They've got loads of people. Was it 1 million people, Reese? I think it was about 1 million kind of legal buyers.
Just over, yeah.
I think we'll have to fact check that one, but it was about 1 million legal buyers, and that's basically their prospecting campaign, right?
Yep.
They've got all of those people that have purchased. For them, the logical next step would be, right, well, let's not go and acquire more new customers to go and watch like all of their online stuff or to get them buy swag or whatever it is, for them, they now need to kick into gear like a remarketing plan. Because there's new fights coming up, isn't there? There's not only the Joshua fight, there's loads of things that they can remarket to people.
Yeah, so look, here's a great example that we had over Black Friday. We were working with 2 new brands and they were like, what can we do just to get things going? And we was like, retargeting. So the first question was like, have you had a pixel set up on the website? And one of the brands said yes. So great, we got set up and started retargeting people that visited the site, which was great. And the other brand didn't have anything set up, so they obviously couldn't do anything straight away. So I think it is important for brands, even if they haven't got the budget then, I think they need to be set up. So when they do have budget to do it, it's set and ready and it's been collecting that data.
100%. So it does happen too much where people say, I want to start doing remarketing, and they haven't been collecting data. And it's like, it's like an own goal where they've not set themselves up.
It's even collecting email, collecting an address, collecting the phone number, right? It's like if you've got all this stuff, you might not want to do DM right now, but when you do have budget to test there, or when you've got the phone numbers of 100,000 people, when you've got the money to do it, you can test. Whereas people are probably thinking, oh, I want to try that now, I haven't got the data. So it's just having that thought process of might not be able to do it right now, but setting the foundations for future use.
No, I think that's a wicked question around the balance, because to Marcus's point, sometimes you assume that everyone has the budget to do everything. And of course, in an ideal world, you would. But at times you have to make decisions, sometimes tough decisions, to go where you're going to put your budget. But it just comes back to the data, doesn't it, Marcus? Like I think you spoke about it in one of the episodes around like we have to be guided by the data. So whether you prospect new customers, whether you remarket to existing customers is one to kind of use the data to kind of guide you on. What are we excited? This is not a question actually that got tweeted in. This is a question that I'm going to ask you guys and then strangely ask myself. But what are we excited for? We're sat start of December. 2020 is around the corner.
Yep.
It feels really weird because years ago we were doing plans like 2020 was this crazy year. It's like, is your marketing plans ready for 2020? Like all these things, and
yeah, it's mad.
Suddenly it's around the corner, which is scary.
When did we record the first Chronicles? 'Cause I'm pretty sure we put things in that of what we think the future holds for marketing that year. So it'd be good to listen back to that.
So that was January this year, I think, wasn't it? We just moved
like
in
March. We were here in February with me.
So yeah, February, March.
Yeah.
March, yeah.
But yeah, so what's like 2020, this massive year ahead of us, and he's under a month away now. Like, Reese, what are you excited for?
Good question. I think there's 3 things I'm really excited for. One, I think direct mail. I think people say it's shrinking, which yes it is, but I think it's getting more powerful. So I think I can't wait to see what that brings. And we're doing some amazing projects with some people and some great clients. So for me, like direct mail, seeing the evolvement of that. SMS, I'd love to be sat here in a year's time and working with more people on that. I think that's a space that's really interesting. But another tech for me is TikTok. It's a tech that we're all learning in the office, and they're letting certain people do sponsored ads on it, so paid advertising on it. So I'm really intrigued and watching how that space evolves, because if they allow more people to do sponsored ads, people like us, agencies, marketing companies like us, I think that's a really interesting space to be in. And I think at the moment it's quite a young demographics, but once more people move into it, I think one, it would be a lot cheaper to advertise in it because it's new, and second, I think it's just a real cool space.
It's an interesting one, and we've had this debate, haven't we, in the office, and I've had this debate with some of my friends in the pubs, and a lot of people say, to your point, Reece, it's just for the youngsters. Whereas if you think back to Instagram started as like they didn't label themselves this, but it's very much like a photographer's platform, wasn't it?
Yep.
Like people were on it because they took these amazing photos.
And you put a filter on it.
And you put filters on it, and it was a really smart thing. And I remember before I was on Instagram being like, I had a look at it and I was like, no, this is just for photographers, and I didn't go on it. Whereas they're the early adopters. They jumped on it, they started to build it up, and then like everything, it starts to get a bit more mainstream.
It evolved from a miming app. So like people used to sing into the camera and mime a song, and the people that made that, it evolved into TikTok. So the first people that are on it are people that had that app, which is from a younger generation.
Right, that makes sense. I didn't know that. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
So that makes sense why there's a lot of kids like singing on it. And
Yeah, the engagement is insane. Like,
huge.
Susanna's cousin was staying at ours a couple of months ago. I think she's like 10 maybe. She was on it, like she was creating her own videos and she was showing them people that she's following, and it's like millions and millions of followers these people have got. They're just making like little videos.
Big brands are in there already.
But the thing is, like these, yes, it's for young children now, or like I guess I don't know how old it goes up to. I guess like young, early teenagers. Those people are going to grow up. Like they're going to grow up, and they're also influencing their parents now. Like so, what they're asking for Christmas, like they might have seen on there, isn't it? So it's
so true. Definitely.
But Facebook started when I first joined Facebook. You had to have a university email address, so that started. So we're saying TikToks for young people, like. Once upon a time, people were saying, well, Facebook's just for students, and you had to have a .ac.uk address to be able to do it. And then that evolved, and now people are saying, oh, actually, it's too many parents on it. We're all coming off of it. So there is a history of these platforms that start small. I mean, you can't even describe TikTok as small anymore. Like I had this conversation with it was Matt Phelan the other day, actually. How I get that it is at that tipping point where it could still fail. Any of these platforms could fail very quickly, but it's not even at the scale where you can call TikTok small anymore.
It's huge. Like, it's just there's the majority of people on it are young. So like that's why people are saying it's small. It's not small. It's just the majority of people, and arguably not every brand is trying to target.
It's niche, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a niche platform right now, but
it's also outside of all these conversations. Like we're in our little bubble now. We're in our little bubble now talking about marketing. Like. With all clients and friends in the industry, like we're not hearing what all these young people are saying because we're not hanging out with them, sort of thing. So what we should find we must have a cousin or second cousin that we can get into the office and just show us that world. Because
you know what I was going to say, we've picked off a couple of guests for next season, and we thought we were coming in here today with already a couple of guests, but actually 100%. Let's look for someone who's on TikTok, like they're from that world. And to your point, Marcus, we talk a lot about sort of diversification of the mind. And 100%, we don't know it. We can't honestly sit around this table and go, we know what it's like to be a 12-year-old that's posted on TikTok. It might look weird to us that they're miming, but their world. So that has to be a guest for next season.
Yeah, how does it stand with because obviously the age group, the majority of the age group on TikTok is like kids at school. How do they become an influencer? Is that allowed? Like, how is there policing on that? Like,
I think so. It's the number one. I read something the other day. Like when they used to ask you at school, like, what do you want to be when you're older?
Yeah.
Like influencer is apparently the number one occupation that kids reference now.
We could go to a 16-year-old boy and ask him to promote PK, and he could get paid for it. That's legal.
In terms of the legalities and the contractual side,
it's probably like a model. It's like a kids model.
You go to kids modelling. Kids modelling. So I imagine so. Yeah. Like, I imagine there will be influencers out there, and there will be brands that are using TikTok already.
Cool.
So it's exciting. I think it's a very, very exciting platform to watch, and that is our job, right? As in the industry, is not to like, even if we don't necessarily enjoy these platforms, like we have to pay attention to them, because at some point or another, we want to get ahead of that curve so we can explore these opportunities with clients. We had a client the other day, and this is bonkers. We were throwing some ideas around, and someone had an amazing idea about how could we use Tinder. Tinder does advertising, so you're allowed to advertise on it. I think Durex, believe it or not, is their biggest advertiser on Tinder. But a little bit of guerrilla kind of marketing. It's a clothing brand. They created a profile. So they created a profile that all of the pictures in this person's profile was them wearing this brand's clothes. It's a really early test. We won't be doing it forever because it is a bit strange. It's quite intrusive, but it's a super exciting way to test things. And that is what TikTok's going to be.
Yep.
We'd recommend people do test it. But no, I think they're great points, Reece. For me, I'm excited to see the change in LinkedIn. LinkedIn for me used to be a platform that was pretty much useless. You connect with people. It's great to have like an address book if you wanted to reach out to people and remember kind of where you met or who you knew at a certain company. It was a great way to keep in touch with people, but it then become just full of recruiters. Every time you went on there, it was just job adverts. It was just useless, really. Then it had a real good transition, and it started to be about kind of content like this, content like our podcast, where people wanted to share their knowledge and they wanted to kind of teach people other things. It went through a period of time that was really, really good. Now it's gone back the other way, where I don't enjoy it as a platform as much, because it's full of random content that doesn't mean anything. A lot of it is sort of self-promoting. It's about people trying to get loads of views. It's about people trying to kind of game the algorithm. And I just think it's lost its value point. And even from our perspective, we've tried to stick to our beliefs and go, we're only putting content out that's meaningful and really just genuinely helpful to people, and we want them to learn. Right now, I don't feel like that's the algorithm doesn't want that. The algorithm wants random videos that just get loads and loads of impressions that actually doesn't really mean anything. So for me, I hope, and I kind of look forward to 2020, I hope that it does kind of take a step backwards and just go back to what it should have been, which is like a B2B platform, professionals talking, networking, sharing content. Like for me, that's going to be really important, and I hope it does. And that directly links into the kind of the advertising you could do on LinkedIn, because right now the advertising is good. It's at a platform that keeps getting more and more expensive. As all the platforms we've spoke about, it's harder and harder to grab attention because you are fighting for attention against these random fucking shit videos where it is self-promoting. So I think that's going to be a very exciting platform to change. It's obviously now owned by Microsoft, so there's a lot of cool things you can do with the audience data in there and pull that through to your Microsoft advertising and things like that. So for me, that's an exciting platform. And the final one for me for 2020, what I'm super excited about is just CRM. I think it's been bubbling away this year. I think lots more people are talking about the importance of CRM, what you can do with it to fuel your marketing. I think next year, and I'm going to put it out there, the year of CRM. I think it's going to be super exciting because I just think people will be doing more and more of it. And for us, that's exciting because it's where we play, it's where we're best at. So for me, they're kind of the two things that I'm super excited for 2020.
Marcus?
It's hard for me, to be honest. I think I don't know what I'm excited for because Google and Bing always come out with new updates throughout the year. There's crazy stuff going on, stuff you kind of expect and stuff you don't expect. So I'm essentially just looking forward to seeing what happens. There's talk of maybe them getting rid of extra match types, which I'm not necessarily excited for, but I'm very intrigued to see what would happen there. Automated bidding really probably has come on very, very strong throughout 2019, more than it has in any previous year, I think. So I'm excited to see that get better. And yeah, excited to see what we can do with it at PK.
One final thing for me, actually, I'm just going to jump back in. What I'm really looking forward to 2020 is more of Marcus's book recommendations. He's given me some blinding books this year.
Yeah, I smashed out like 4 books on my honeymoon in like the first week and a half.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the first one was short. No, the first one I was halfway through. The second one was a short one, but the second 2 were like long ones.
I don't think I've done that my whole life.
Yeah, a week and a half might be exaggeration.
That's fine. You read really, really fast. But no, that is to your point, like the value of taking time away and reading.
I was getting loads of value from reading, but I did find that I was thinking about work too much because I was reading all these amazing books. It's making me think about like us and what we're going to do next year and like the team and all these different ideas. And then I was like, do you know what? I've got to stop this. So I stopped reading. I downloaded Football Manager and then just turned into a piece of jelly. It was just like completely forgot about work and then really switched off. But I think it helped because everything like sunk in. Everything sunk in that I was thinking about. No,
like even if you are playing Champman, like or sitting on the beach drinking a beer, like the stuff we were doing before you went away, the stuff you've read, it still sinks in. You're still thinking about it, like, but it's good. I'm glad you switched off. But no, I think your reading list has been excellent. We all should do it. I mean, I had my honeymoon when we first started up. Reese's, Marcus has had his now. Reese will just go on a long break and be able to sit on the beach and read.
When?
Not just yet. But no, on that, I think we should do a reading list. I'd love you to share a reading list on the blog, Marcus.
Too much good shit.
No, well, we'll just keep it going. It'll be an ongoing book.
No, you've come back with some great ideas.
No, I think it's been really good just to sit down, kind of this is the real sort of first time we've sat and digested on the first season, really. It's been wicked. We've really enjoyed it. We decided we're definitely doing a season 2. We're super excited by it. Even off this session now, we've got loads more guests that we're going to go out and try and invite on. So we'll be back bigger and better. Hope everyone's enjoyed listening to the Audience Marketing Show. Stay tuned for season 2 in 2020. But I've been Luke.
And I'm Reese.
I'm Marcus.